You should be very proud of yourself. You can finish this task while the captain is still in sickbay asleep. You don't even need to look him in the eye. Someone stole your valuable goods. Do you agree with me? When I watched Star Trek for the first time on an old black and white TV, I felt like the whole room had been frozen during the whole show. I will always remember the first time I saw Kirk standing on the bridge with that look that only William Shatner could pull off. It was either Picard saying "make it so" and making the room quiet, or Data tilting his head to look at something I didn't understand at all but knew was very important. Then there were scenes that went by so quickly that I had to hit the pause button to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. That's when 7 of 9 looked right at the doctor and said something that almost made me fall off my chair because I thought I had heard it wrong. Then there was the moment I saw an impossible picture hidden in Starfleet records. If I hadn't rewound it, I would have thought my vision was blurry. Then Dax walked into the picture wearing an outfit that made me stop in my tracks for just one beat, long enough for me to hit pause right away, just to be sure. I had seen that for sure. Let's go over those blink and you'll miss it details, those scary moments, and the secrets that only diehard fans know. Here are the 10 times that Star Trek was stopped the most. 10. 7 out of 9 blame the doctor. You got sexually excited when you were in my body. I guess I didn't mean to bother you. If you grew up with Star Trek's big ideas and vast stretches of space like I did, this scene in Voyager probably made you stop in your tracks as if the world you knew all of a sudden turned a different color for a second. Body and Soul is supposed to be a funny episode, but no one saw one of the most shocking lines in the whole series coming from it. So shocking that fans all over the world hit just to make sure they heard it right. Lokirim, a race that chases holograms, forced the Doctor to hide inside 7 of 9's body. This starts the chaos. Not at all alike. A hyperactive hologram that wants to learn more about how people feel and a former Borg drone that values order, logic, and not putting up with nonsense at all. Put them in the same body. There will be disaster. And the whole mess goes off when 7 finds out that the Doctor has been living in her body quite happily. 7 steps up to face him in a Loserum cell. Her face is calm, but her eyes are as sharp as a blade. And the treatment that Lieutenant Jaren gave you? Therapeutic in every way. Then there's the line that shocked all Star Trek fans. It was cold, clear, and didn't say sorry at all. You got sexually excited when you were in my body. There aren't many scenes in Voyager that are this brave, funny, and unbelievable all at the same time. There aren't many times when Star Trek directly deals with sexuality while still maintaining its trademark smart humor. Jerry Ryan's barely controlled anger and Robert Picardo's embarrassed confusion were used as memes right away. This scene is an important part of Star Trek stop culture because of this. That's all it takes to stop you in your tracks with laughter and make you wonder, what did I just see? 9. The Great Bird of the Galaxy, a quiet tribute in The Naked Now. Could you give me more information? I remember watching The Next Generation on an old TV when I was young, and I still remember the time when Data flipped through Starfleet records and a strange image flashed across the screen. For a very short time, I saw a bird with Gene Roddenberry's face on it. It was so shocking that I felt like I had seen the fingerprints of the person who made the world. I always have to pause it, as if to hold on to a nice feeling from the father of Star Trek. This could be because it comes up so quickly, almost like a secret. The Naked Now Data looks through Starfleet history for hints on how to stop the drunken virus that is causing chaos on the ship. In the middle of the important data streams, the camera cuts to a picture of Gene Roddenberry's head on a bird that lasts less than a second. There was no explanation, conversation, or recognition. A fun wink for people who are quick-eyed or quick enough to hit pause. Gene Roddenberry was known as the Great Bird of the Galaxy for a long time. This name was given to honor the man whose imagination made Star Trek possible. That small but heartfelt cameo was the production team's way of honoring the person who created the series. You'd probably miss that kind of moment on an old TV that goes away in an instant. Once you've seen it, though, you realize that Star Trek is full of small, perfectly placed details that tell us that this universe was made with a lot of love. Fans really feel linked to the series' heart at times like these, when frames last only a single breath. 8. Dax in an outfit from the original show. In Trials and Tribulations, there is a tempting return. There are times when it seems like Star Trek has opened a time portal and teleported both its characters and viewers back to the beginning of the series. This is done perfectly in Trials and Tribulations. With great visual effects, DS9 takes its actors back to the time of the Trouble. With triples came the era of miniskirts, pink bridges, and curves that were all very 1960s. Then Dax shows up in the famous outfit from the first season. There was no hoopla or showboating. It was a soft shot, but it was enough to make the screen look brighter for a beat. Terry Farrell isn't just dressing up as a famous Star Trek character. The style, bravery, and fun of that time are brought back to life by her. It's not a surprise that this is one of the shots that fans paused the most. There's some memories and some seamless compositing going on, but what really makes it feel good is seeing Star Trek from the 1960s and the 1990s come together in a small but beautiful way. In this case, Dax is more than just a DS9 cop. People who grew up with Kirk Spock McCoy and people who came of age with Cisco Worf Dax can talk to each other about the past and the present. Even though the scene was short, it was strong enough to make any Star Trek fan's heart sink when they realized that some values never go away. Sometimes all it takes is a miniskirt to bring back the memories. 7. The biggest force in Star Trek history. It's a big moment that doesn't last long. I always think of the episode where the Dominion takes over the station when I watch Deep Space Nine again. It was a turning point that changed the whole tone of the show in one episode. After the Dominion takes over Deep Space Nine, the Defiant and the Radaran have to go back at this very moment. With just one small camera move, the screen opens up into a huge sea of steel. Galaxy class, Kara class, Miranda class, and even other Defiant class ships were squished together like a wall of light, making up the Federation Klingon Armada. Even though the shot only lasts a few seconds, fans have made it one of the most paused scenes in the whole series. You can't just look at it quickly. You have to take a moment to look at every ship, count every hull, and make out every familiar shape from TNG or earlier movies. You feel like you're running into old friends all at once, and they're gone before you can catch your breath. Better still. Years later, Ira Steven Behr said that this scene goes against what was meant to happen in the first place. It was expected that the Defiant and Radaran would be flying away from the area, not toward the fleet, as if they were getting ready to attack back. It was a small mistake, but it made the scene famous because it looks like a promise that there is still hope in the world. Even if it's just for a few weak frames. A moment of pure show that was way too short. That's why fans pause it, not just to look at it, but to hold on to that short-lived joy a little longer. 6. The decontamination scenes on the Enterprise were considered too sexy for Star Trek. Have you ever thought about why, in the middle of all the serious stuff about space travel, interstellar relations, and human philosophy, Enterprise has scenes with decontamination gel that don't feel at all Star Trek? After every away trip, the idea sounds like a good scientific one. To get rid of foreign germs, officers have to use a special decontamination gel. But Enterprise's way of showing the process makes it hard to act like it's not guilty. Two people in a dimly lit room rubbing gel all over their bodies and sometimes on each other. The camera views make people who have never seen the movie raise an eyebrow. It's easy to see what they mean. Through this, Star Trek tried to lighten up a bit. During the very competitive early 2000s TV market, and add sex appeal to bring in new people. It's also easy to see why these scenes quickly became hot topics of discussion, controversy, and, of course, stopping to see what's going on a lot of the time. You can love them or hate them. The scenes of cleaning are some of the best parts of Enterprise. Even a show like Star Trek, which has been around for 40 years, has tried to break the rules to be brave and take a chance. And sometimes that risk leads to scenes that you have to watch again, just to make sure that the Trek world really did just do that. 5. A legendary mistake in Star Trek, Enterprise having an impossible number of decks. If there's one scene that makes fans laugh, gape in shock, and rewind because they don't believe their eyes, it's when Kirk, Spock, and McCoy climb the turboshaft in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. When Spock puts on his gravity boots, what was supposed to be a tense escape from Sybok turns into a math nightmare. As soon as they start fighting, the three start flying straight up the ship's vertical shaft. Then all ideas about physics, engineering, and even simple logic are thrown out the closest airlock. In a flash, they pass the deck readouts in this order: 12, 13, 14, 54, 65, 54 again, and 72. A scene that is so ridiculous that even first-time watchers blink, while longtime fans automatically hit pause to make sure. Is it true that the Enterprise A has 72 decks? Of course, the answer is no. It has never been able to and never will. This scene became one of the most well-known narrative mistakes in all of Star Trek very quickly. Some people joke that the turboshaft has to be very big. Others say Spock may have accidentally set his boots to warp mode. Some fans see it as proof that Star Trek V had some good ideas but didn't always carry them out with the normal level of accuracy. No matter what, the scene will always be a must-pause moment. It's a great example of how even the dumbest mistakes can make Star Trek funnier and more memorable. For, there are Easter eggs that are only there to tease fans, and the part where the Millennium Falcon shows up in Star Trek is one of the funniest jokes ever hidden in a sci-fi movie. In Star Trek, First Contact, during the intense battle of Sector 01, where the Federation is fighting to stop the Borg from destroying the world, there is something that fans will never forget. The Millennium Falcon shows up right in the middle of the Starfleet battle line if you blink. The Falcon is, in fact, in a Star Trek frame. It only appears for a few frames, and the shape of Han Solo's ship from Star Wars is so small that you have to pause at just the right time to see it. And that was the whole point. Following the remastering of Star Wars, the effects team at ILM Industrial Light and Magic chose to add the Falcon to Star Trek. In a fun way between two huge brands. No explanation, no statement, and no on-screen thanks, just a secret signature for people who look closely. Half of the fans laughed when they found out the truth, while the other half wouldn't believe it until they stopped the frame themselves. Since then, the Falcon in First Contact has become one of the most well-known Star Trek Easter eggs for its strange charm. And proof that artists behind the scenes like to play tricks on people every once in a while. It was only a few frames long, but it was long enough for the two best pop culture worlds to meet in the happiest way possible. 3. Archer and Hoshi's Future Records is a short text that starts a whole new era in Starfleet. I can still vividly remember when Mirror Archer and Mirror Hoshi took control of the USS Defiant and started scanning historical records from the Prime Universe. At first, I thought it was just a nice visual effect and nothing important. Not many people who watch know that those brief frames hold a lot of information about what Archer and Hoshi will do in the future. There are details that you can only see if you pause at just the right time, and those tiny lines of text quietly reveal a part of Star Trek's past that the show never told directly. It only takes a few frames to forget that Hoshi Sato served his country well and retired as a lieutenant commander in the Prime timeline. And finish that fits and is deserved for a character who is often overlooked. Jonathan Archer became president of the United Union of Planets. He was an idealist who dreamed of a united union. Archer 4, a planet named after him, shows how important he was in history. Fans' hearts skip a beat, though, when they see a short mention of the Romulan War, which was the first war between Starfleet and the Federation. The information suggests that the Andorians, Tellarites, and Vulcans, who were once allies, worked together to defeat the Romulan Empire. This is a subtle connection between the story of Enterprise and later shows. The catch: everything goes by so quickly. If you don't notice the pause, you might miss a gift that was placed there just for longtime fans. That's what makes Star Trek so great. A fuzzy data screen can sometimes reveal a whole period of history we have never seen but have always been interested in learning more about. A constitutional class wreck in the fight against the Borg, a scary reminder of how powerful the enemy really is. You might not know this, but there's a moment in Star Trek First Contact's bloody fight that lasts less than a second too quickly for most viewers to notice, but it's so powerful that it stops even diehard fans in their tracks. As the Borg destroy 39 ships in the Federation fleet and kill over 11,000 people, a familiar shape drifts through the burning remains of a starship from the movie era. Yes, the class that will always be linked to Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and the start of Starfleet is now smashed on the battlefield like every other ship. The shot is so brief that it's almost unnoticeable. You can't emphasize anything, talk, or zoom in for drama. Another crazy Hulk in the Borg firestorm. It's scary because of how quiet it is. Because if you pause, the message is clear: Kirk's work would not have changed the result even if he had been there. It's a sneaky and cruel way to show how dangerous the Borg are. There will be no lectures or loud music. It was just a famous ship that was broken up. It's only a moment, but it makes a scary fact clear: this is no longer a battle of civilizations. It's wartime. In times of war, even the most famous signs can be removed. 1. The exercise class that Crusher and Troy went to. Some episodes of Star Trek make people laugh, raise an eyebrow, and pause all at the same time. One such episode has Beverly Crusher and Deanna Troi doing aerobics in the Enterprise D's hallways. Not in a gym, not in a class, and not at all to explain the story. It was just two senior soldiers working out in very tight clothes, stretching and dancing with all their might in front of a homemade mirror. The scene is very interesting because it comes out of nowhere. It's a casual part of everyday life that's put in the usually formal and dignified Enterprise D, making it feel almost out of place. To Star Trek fans, it's like finding something that doesn't belong there, which is why it's so memorable. It helps that Gates McFadden is a real-life professional dancer and Marina Sirtis has always been very charming on screen. Together, they make this exercise class fun, strangely attractive, and delightfully weird in a way that only Star Trek could. For fans, it's pure gold, a charming surprise that makes you rewind just to make sure you saw two Starfleet officers stretching in the hallway. It doesn't have any big message or plot connection. One thing becomes clear when you think about all of these times. People don't just remember Star Trek for its epic battles or deep philosophical thoughts. It also lives in split seconds, passing details, and frames that make us stop and look because they're beautiful, interesting, or surprising. The heart of Star Trek is made up of these small but powerful moments. They keep us interested, laughing, arguing, and sometimes frozen for a moment to get a better look. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like this trip through 10 paused moments. This will help us keep bringing you more stories from all over the Star Trek world. Leave a comment about the part that made you press pause the most. Your answer could lead to the next list in a future film. We'll see you on the next trip.